Hello everyone, welcome back to Playwright from Zero to Hero. I'm your instructor, Mahesh Patel. In this lesson, we will be discussing variables, constant, and data types. Let's start by creating two variables. S- So you can see I created two variables with the variable name, first name, and the first name, and I set uh, the value as Mahesh, and the second last name I set the value as Patil. The keyword which I have used to create the variable are var and let. In JavaScript, this is how you define the variables. While there while there are functional difference between var and let, they don't matter for our current scope. You can use either var or let to create a variable. Once the keyword is used, you give a name to the variable. In our example, as you can see, we have used the keyword var and let, and we have given the variable name as first name and last name. Sorry, as last name. And we have set the value to the first name as Mahesh and the last name as Patil. So what exactly are variables for in a programming language? A variable is a way to store the information during the code execution. The value stored in the variable exists only during the runtime. Please note, the value stored in the variable exists only during the runtime, and once program finishes, the value disappears. I repeat, once the program finishes, the value disappears for the variable. You can think of a variable like a shopping cart. You put items in the cart, carry them to the checkout, pay, and return the cart to someone else to use. Similarly, variable can hold the value temporarily while your program runs. Variable can store a single value or multiple value. When it store multiple value, it is known as object. But we will talk about the objects later. Now let's print the value of our variables to the console using, in order to print, we use console.log. So I'll just give first name here and we'll print the same for second name, last name. Let's run it. So in order to run, we use node and the file name. We can see hello world, whatever is there in the first name Mahesh and Patel, it got printed. What else we can do with the variables in JavaScript? You can declare a variable and use them later. For example, let's create few more variables. Let me just name it as variables. So I'm creating few more variables here like age, date of birth, gender. So and then I will assign the value to it. Age is equal to, let's say, 30. Gender is equal to male. So as I said, you can declare the variables and use them later. So first what I did, I just declare the variables and then I'm trying to use them by assigning the value and I can print it. Let me run my program. You can see it got printed. Let's say you want to change the value of age to some other value. You can do that. Let's say I'm going to assign it to 35 and let me print again. You can see, let me run the code and show you. So during the runtime, you can change the value of the variable. So now this is all about the variable. Let's talk about the constant. Constant in JavaScript are declared with a keyword called const. For example, we want to create a constant, let's say occupation with, let's say constant. Let me just name it. So the keyword what we use is const. So occupation. I'm giving occupation as engineer. You can print now the same thing. Let me print. Oops, I missed, while copy pasting, I missed C. Let me print it again. You can see it got printed. So far it looks similar to variable, but here is the difference actually. If we try to reassign the value to or value occupation to some other occupation, let's say doctor, what we will get? Let me just change the value of occupation to doctor and let me try to print. You see, assignment to the constant variables. You got the error. Unlike variable, you cannot declare a constant without initializing it. You have to try, if you try, you will get an error because the constant must always have a value. And the constant, once assigned, it cannot be changed during the runtime. So to summarize, the difference between the variable and the constant variables can have their values assigned, reassigned, while constant cannot. Constant keeps the same value throughout the execution of the program. Also, constant you can't do the other way. Let me just remove this thing. You want to, as I said, you want to declare and I want to assign again this thing as engineer. Let me try to run. So this will also throw the error. You cannot declare and assign them for the constant. You have to, in a single line, you have to do this thing. For the constant, you should declare and assign in a single line. This is how you have to do. So let's move on to the data types. In JavaScript, we have 5 primitive data types. So one is string, second is number, third is boolean, fourth is null, and fifth is undefined. Let me just type it here, show it to you. Where first name Mac, where age is equal to 30 where married is equal to false where years of marriage is equal to null where number of cars is equal to undefined. So let me explain you these five different data types. The first one is the string. A value enclosed in the quotes is always considered as a string. So you can see this is a string, the first name. The second name is the number. Number without the number should not have any quotes. So if you put the 25 in, let's say if you put this 30 in the quotes, then it will become the string and it cannot be used for any calculations or anything. The third you can see is a boolean. A boolean value can either be true or false. So I'm just considering here the example if is he married or not in order to, so you can give the value in terms of for true or false. False means if somebody is not married. If married means you can give the true. Null represent no value. For instance, if a person is not married, they would have they should not have any number of years of marriage because the value could not be the value could be null, right? He is not married, so there is the no meaning of number of years he got married. So the reason the value should always be null. Undefined if a variable hasn't been assigned a value. You have not assigned any value to the variable you don't want to assign, then you can just name it as an undefined. To sum up, to sum up in this lesson, we have learned the difference between variables and constant. Variables are flexible and their values can change, while constant can hold one value throughout the program. We also covered JavaScript's five primitive data types: string, number, boolean, null, and undefined. Thank you for joining the class. See you in the next lesson.